Welcome back to Box Office Maniacs. Tonight we are going to be reviewing a film that is a classic, Vince. It's a classic.
The original was the classic.
We are reviewing what could become a new classic. We're taking this one downtown, people.
Downtown, that Chinatown.
Evil Dead has been probably one of the best horror films ever made, period. You know, any horror fanatic will tell you that, period. First words that came out of everybody's mouth as soon as they said Evil Dead and they put the word remake in it said, oh my God, why?
I said, oh my God, why?
Now, in the past, we've had remakes on classic horror films. I'm talking Nightmare on Elm Street.
This won't hurt one little bit.
Friday the 13th. Evil Dead is pretty much like the Citizen Kane. It's pretty much the Gone with the Wind of horror films.
Yeah.
You can't replace Ash in an Evil Dead movie. Don't even try.
Everything's gonna be fine.
We just cut up our girlfriend with a chainsaw. Does that sound fine?
Everything's fine.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Don't even go there, people. Don't even try. Well, I can tell you when my brain switched from, oh my God, why, to when is this movie coming out, because I have to see it now, is when they announced that Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi were producing this film, and then my expectations just went through the roof.
I actually switched from, oh my God, why, to, oh my God, I need to see it, was the Red Band trailer.
As I said in the beginning of this review, you don't replace Ash in an Evil Dead movie like they tried in Nightmare on Elm Street to replace Freddy. You don't screw with classic, iconic characters and put somebody else on the role, because usually it turns out like, what?
Crap.
So what do these people do, Vince? They grew a brain, and they grew a pair of big balls, and they remade Evil Dead. If you're an Evil Dead fan, and you still have your finger stuck up your butt so far, and you're saying, I'm not going to go see this, then screw you, because you're missing one of the best horror films ever!
Exactly. This was phenomenal. I really, and even though I have to admit I was still a little bit skeptical because, like you said, how can you take Ash out of Evil Dead and have it be a good Evil Dead film? And my skepticism was doused within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
What they did here is they have nothing, and I mean people, nothing more than a great respect for the original film here.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, there's every element of the original film in this movie with a total different story.
That, Vince, is the key to the greatness of this movie. What they managed to do here was not remake The Evil Dead, but tell a new story in the Evil Dead universe, which is something I've been waiting for since Army of Darkness.
Well, what's great about the story and this movie is that it's actually a prequel and a sequel and a remake and a spin-off, like all in one. That's really how this movie plays out.
The stuff with Ash could have already either taken place or maybe it hasn't taken place yet, but they don't screw with the story of Ash and all that. You know, this is a new take on a whole new group of people who end up going to a cabin and have the same type of things happening that happen in the Evil Dead universe.
And they kept it like the original Evil Dead because they made it simple. It wasn't a big complex story like they tried to do with most of these horror films today. Like they did with Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and Friday the 13th. They overthought everything on those films, and that's why they're not quite as good.
Now comes the big complaint I've heard from everybody, Vince. Everybody. It seems like everybody pretty much thinks that this is a remake of Evil Dead just to show the gore, and it's an Evil Dead movie, and they amped up the gore like 1,000%. First of all, yeah, they did. So what?
Really? I haven't really heard any of that.
Now, these weren't from reviews. These were from people I talked to, like I work with, or people that I talked to on Twitter or Facebook that were really complaining because, oh, there's, it's not Evil Dead because there's just too much gore. Put too much gore in it, and that's not Evil Dead. And, I'm not going to go see it because of that. And this instead.
The first Evil Dead, and actually all the Evil Deads, but the first Evil Dead, the second Evil Dead, they had tons of blood.
Vince, get up on your pulpit and preach. Start preaching, Vince.
There was tons of blood in it. I mean, gallons of blood. This one is that times 10, but that's Evil Dead. That's exactly what it is.
Well, what I can say is this has to be, without question, people, the most bloodiest, the most violent movie that I've ever seen and that I've ever enjoyed as much that end of any horror film that I've seen probably in the last million years.
Your decades last a million years, Dave.
It does.
I haven't seen a horror film this good in a long time. If you want to see a real horror film, you go to the masters. You go to the ones that know horror, that made horror, that've been making horror movies for a long time, and that's Sam Raimi. You go to him. You go to Bruce Campbell. You go to Robert Englund. That's where you go. If you want to get a real, true horror, bloody horror, gory film, that's where you go.
They respected this film. There's little things here and there throughout the movie that if you're a fan like Vince and I am, you will recognize. And I don't want to give anything away here because, that's part of the fun of watching this. But when you're watching, you're like, yeah, that's awesome. I like what they did there. That's great. Total respect for the fans for this movie.
Completely, because that's Bruce Campbell. That's his respect for the fans. He knows exactly what the fans wanted to see. He knows exactly what they expected.
You're going to remake something? People, this is the standard. This is what I want to see from now on. And this is what is what called a real freaking horror film. And there went my camera. I'm okay. I'm all right. It's okay. It's all right. I didn't die. It's okay.
This is exactly what I want to see out of this movie. It was great. I'm going to have to light the fuse, Dave. I'm lighting the fuse. Boom!
I'm bubbling and popping and bubbling. My camera's still discombobulated. How are you going to top that? You don't.
I gotta wait my 7 seconds. If you are a hardcore Evil Dead fan, I would make one big suggestion for you. Stay until the very last credit of this film.